Hi and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to talk about pinching and spacing dahlias, and I'm also going to share a few other tips around dahlia care, so make sure to stick till the end. Whether you're planting tubers or rooted cuttings, most of these tips apply to both, and hopefully they will help you grow stunning dahlias of your own. So why would you pinch your dahlias? Well, pinching encourages a bushy growth. In other words, it encourages the formation of side branching, which leads to more blooms. So pinching increases the amount of flowers you can harvest from the same plant, which means more bang for your buck. There are two schools of thought among flower farmers when it comes to pinching. Some prefer pinching above the second set of leaves, while others prefer pinching above the fourth set of leaves. There are advantages and disadvantages to both approaches. Pinching above the second set of leaves allows the plant to have more stability at the base and hold on to those stems more reliably. Why is this important? Because dahlias are known for getting top heavy. They have large flowers, there can be multiple stems per plant and multiple flowers per stem, and especially if it rains, flowers have a tendency to tilt and even break, so this can affect the quality of your stems. Now, why would you pinch above the fourth set of leaves? Well, there are mainly three reasons for that. The first reason is the length of the main stem above the ground. Having a longer stem above the ground allows you to strip off the bottom leaves so that you can improve airflow around the stem, which helps reduce fungal issues associated with high humidity. The second reason you would pinch above the fourth set of leaves is that you would have multiple nodes for the side branching to emerge out of. Each node on the plant is marked by the two leaves, which means that two side shoots can emerge from that node. If you pinch above the second set of leaves, that leaves you with four possible nodes for the side shoots to emerge out of. If you pinch above the fourth set of leaves, that leaves you with 8 possible extra side shoots. The third reason you would pinch your dahlias above the fourth set of leaves is that with a longer stem, if you strip off the leaves, you can bury the stem a little bit deeper in the ground. Now, why is this important? Every node has growth hormones, and if the node is buried below the surface of the soil, that node will be the starting point, the growth point of new tubers. And instead of having your tuber clump all tight at the bottom of the stem, you would have your tubers growing staggered across the length of the buried stem, so they will be easier to divide and multiply for your following seasons. If the nodes are above the soil surface, they will be the growth point for side shoots and leaves. Now, how am I doing it this year? I prefer pinching dahlias above the fourth set of leaves. Even though pinching above the second set of leaves gives the plant more stability, dahlias grow tall anyway, and they will need some form of support like staking or netting or corralling or a combination of these. However, this year I pre-sprouted my tubers late because they were delivered late, and the cuttings haven't had a chance to grow tall enough for me to pinch above the fourth set of leaves. Also, I prefer to pinch my dahlias when they're still in the pot, but you can pinch them when they're in the ground too, it doesn't really matter. The reason I prefer to pinch them in the pot is because once I transplant them out, it's hard for me to reach to the middle of the bed because my beds are quite wide. I recently posted another video where I show how I multiply my stock of dahlias by pre-sprouting tubers and taking dahlia cuttings. If you've missed it, I will link it for you in the description below. So because I feel like I'm running out of time this year, I'm pinching my dahlias early. But next year I will have saved my own specialty tubers and I will wake them up late January to early February so I can collect my cuttings early and allow them more time to grow larger so I can pinch them above the fourth set of leaves. In order to pinch your dahlias, you can use your fingers or you can use a pair of scissors or snips. Find the set of leaves you want to pinch at and pinch just above the leaves. Within a couple weeks, new shoots will emerge from the nodes below the cut. That's all there is to pinching. Next, we're going to talk about spacing. If you're enjoying this video so far, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Subscribing is completely free and it will help YouTube show more of my content as I release new videos about flower farming. Alright, let's talk about spacing. Spacing recommendation for dahlias is 12 to 18 inches, which is 30 to 45 centimeters. But because I'm growing them for cutting, this year I'm aiming for 8 to 10 inch spacing, which is 20 to 25 centimeters. Pinching means that the plant will need more space to allow for side branching, so if you want to be safe, just stick to the spacing recommendation. Now, my growing space is very limited, I just have my backyard, so I want to maximize that growing space any way I can without compromising my plant's health, which is why this year I'm experimenting with closer planting. Staying on top of cutting stems improves airflow among the stems. So cutting makes my dahlias less crammed into space and less exposed to excess humidity and pests. I'm also hoping to remove some of the bottom foliage when the plants grow large enough to allow for that, so I can manage that humidity even further. Planting tubers straight into the ground, then you don't need to worry about hardening off. But if you started your tubers in pots indoors, or if you rooted cuttings, then it is best to harden these off before putting them into the ground. Hardening off simply means that the plant needs to be gradually acclimatized to the UV rays, the wind and the outdoor temperatures before being planted out. The good news is, dahlias love the sun. Unlike other plants that take ages to acclimatize because they burn easily, examples include marigolds or basil, dahlias have strong leaves that handle the UV rays and the wind very well, and I feel confident to transplant my dahlias after only 3 to 4 days of hardening off. When I transplant my dahlias, I like to add a sprinkling of fish, blood and bone fertilizer to the soil to give the plant a head start and to help it establish in the ground. I also add a layer of compost to the planting beds to promote a healthy soil biology and encourage symbiotic relationships between the plant's roots and the beneficial microbes inside the soil. I found out about Molasses from Galena at Microflower Farm over in the US. She uses it both as an organic fertilizer and as a pest control measure. I'm planning on using it to keep bugs from munching on my flowers. And this summer is going to be the first time I'm using it, so I'm going to let you know how it goes. Apparently, bugs cannot digest sugar well, and Molasses makes your dahlias too sweet for what bugs can tolerate. And while Molasses doesn't repel bugs in the sense that they can still sit on the plant, it keeps them from biting into the plant. What's more, it does pollinators no harm, and it provides a food source for the microbiome around the roots. Here in the UK, dry molasses is very hard to find and very expensive. But since I intend to dilute it in water and spray it on the plants, I will use liquid molasses instead. Let me know in the comments if you want me to keep you updated on the results I'm going to get from using it. While it's still too early in the season for me to demonstrate harvesting any flowers, I'll talk about it here a little because harvesting is a bit like pinching. Dahlias are cut and come again flowers, which means that the more you cut from them, the more you encourage the plant to send up more side shoots and therefore more flowers. When we harvest dahlia stems, it's best to cut as deep into the plant as possible, above the first or second leaf node. This is useful for 2 reasons. First, a deep cut encourages the new stems to grow tall, and stem length is important for cut flowers. Second, having new stems emerge from the bottom as opposed to further up the plant means you prevent your dahlias from getting top heavy and tilting to the side. So the same argument as for pinching your dahlias above the second set of leaves. Keeping on top of deadheading is another thing that stimulates dahlias to produce new flowers. Dahlias just want to wrap around their life cycle by producing seed. So if you remove spent flowers, you encourage the plant to produce more blooms in an effort to leave offspring behind, in other words, seeds. I cannot wait to see my dahlias start blooming, and I'm planning on other videos discussing my favorites this year and covering things like flower traits and colors, stem count per plant for different varieties, amount of cuttings taken from my tubers for each variety, my molasses updates and more. Make sure to subscribe and stay tuned for my upcoming videos. I'll see you soon.